Absolute on the blue side. I am over on the red. Morgana and Kassadin, actually the first few bans there for Absolute. And the Jinx, the target ban away from Cooler.
Yeah, it's his favorite champion. I smiled as soon as I saw it come through. That puts such a high priority on Lucian, though, because Denian loves playing it. And Kulo, that seems to be his second champion that he defaults to. So getting rid of the Jinx, I want to see if they take away the second AD carry.
I mean, it's interesting as well because Lucian versus Sivir is a very popular matchup, at least for the Lucian side. Look, people love to pick into that very popular AD carry. LeBlanc banned away there as well, so a mid ban this time around and a Hecarim ban there thrown in the top side for Ryu. We've seen the Jack attack Maokai time and time again. I really like the Hecarim ban.
Yeah. The Hecarim ban is like, it's a good ban if you look at champion matchups, but then you look at Ryu and he doesn't play it that much. We've seen him on a couple of Gnar games, Rumble player going back last season as well. So Hecarim, it is something slightly different. Obviously they know something that we don't on the desk here, but getting it away, just giving you a favorable matchup is always a good thing.
I mean, have to watch out for that Rumble, though. You did mention it already, but Immunity, last ban, don't have too long left. It is Alistar, finally a team that's respecting the power of this support. And Absolute have almost the whole world open to them at this stage, but they lock in Gragas.
Yeah, Gragas is just so strong in the moment. No surprises to see it taken away there. Alistair, let's hit on that a little bit. Just so many good lane matchups right now because Poke has fallen out of the bottom lane a little bit. More hard engagey. So Alistair, unless you play something like a Janna, very hard to shut down.
Yeah, really great stuff. I mean, even against the likes of Janna, just has such good engage. You can flash in, you can headbutt in, you can get boosted in by a Sivir. That's been popular as well. But Immunity locked in their picks, by the way, as we talk through. Maokai and Azir instantly picked up.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see the Maokai coming through there for Ryu in the top lane. Really does like the tanky champions if he can't get on something like the Rumble. And although pass it up here, just going for teams fighting. Cheese, he's gone with the Azir. That's something that we've seen him play before. Played it relatively well.
Yeah, Azir's been a super popular champion. Cassiopeia is open, so that very popular skill matchup might be what we see there in the mid lane. But I feel like people are starting to figure out Azir's Rise has already been locked in. Yeah. I guess against the Maokai, probably Jack in the top lane.
Yeah, it's going to be Jack in the top lane. And, you know, Jack Attack, he's been around forever. So he would have seen probably 3 comings and goings of Rise in his time. But Rise making a resurgent after the rework. He's got some added range. He's got some cool combos in his kit where he can get some shields. And he's just a really consistent machine gun AoE burst mage in the top lane still. And, you know, he still gets durable. So I understand why teams are picking him back up. I don't think he is as good as picking him before you've seen jungler, though, because all of a sudden, if they go something aggressive here, Soulstrikes loves his aggressive jungler, something like a Vi, and you can just be locked down by Ryu or Maokai, they're going to blow him up early.
Yeah, Rek'Sai's open as well, so they could also take that up. But Lucian there was the pick coming through for Cooler, so good call on that one. Denian locks in the Rek'Sai, though, for his jungler, so it is going to be that early pressure coming through. Considering their supports, I like the Nautilus Hopper, but they've got a bit more time to decide.
Yeah, I think they will go for Nautilus. All of a sudden, you've got some knockups coming through there, some decent slows. They've got a very good peeling lineup because they've got the Azir, they've got Maokai, and then adding a Nautilus in there is just going to mean whatever Denian does take, he will be as safe as he can possibly be, so I like the strategy they've gone with. But now I'm a little bit worried for Jack Attack in the top lane because when you see a Maokai, you think lockdown, point and click stun, a lot of slows, a lot of disruption that he brings out. As long as you have some form of damage, he can generally turn a top lane into a kill lane relatively early. So they get up there level 3, Soul Strikes might be able to turn that lane in Ryu's favor.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it a lot, especially in the Hecarim Maokai matchup. Hecarim seems to like it just to get free farm, honestly, because it's such a easy matchup for him to collect a simple farm in. But you do get ganked a lot, especially without flat. So Jack not going to have very many chances, and it does seem like it's going to go to the top side. They have locked in Lulu. That's one of Strawbella's favorite supports there as well, so don't mind that pickup. And they hovered the Cassiopeia, but they're going to take the classic counter. It's Xerath, sorry, in the mid lane.
Yeah, and a strange pickup in a very tanky meta. Xerath has fallen out because he just can't burst through tanks. If he can get onto the squishier members, he does a very good job, which is why he's good against Azir. But in the end, he's going to be relegated to probably just wave clearing in the mid lane. And he's going to have to try and get through a Maokai, a Nautilus, and then the Rek'Sai running around as well. That's a very heavy front line. And they're hovering over Kalista here. That's a lot of hard engage as well, so don't really agree with the Xerath matchup in the current meta.
Yeah, I mean, for me, they're clearly running double AP because they already have the Rise. Classically, you have, you know, one damage mage and one control mage. Xerath kind of skirts the lines of both, so I don't really know what it's going to do in this comp, but if Mimic gets set up in the matchup especially, he can just get ahead, start poking, start wave clearing, and he will get decent value in the mid-game out of it.
Yeah, like in the mid-game, he certainly is still the strength. We didn't really do much to Xerath for him to fall out of favor. It was more a meta swing to come through, so he's going to do a high amount of damage. He does have the 2 forms of CC. He has a slow, he has a stun that can come through, so it is difficult to dive on top of him. The problem is that he just doesn't really do much against tanks and has a very late game focus build to be able to straight up burst out a carry like an Azir or like a Kalista.
Yeah, they'll have to try and snipe these squishies, but Kalista is the last pick there, so Denny going to take, I would say, a skill matchup, honestly. Probably slightly favored there for Lucian, at least on the bottom side, but haven't seen Denny play too much. It's been a lot of Lucian in that Ashe game as well that he probably doesn't want to remember. So Kalista, something new for him, I believe.
Yeah, Kalista coming onto the Rift, hasn't played it yet. Definitely with you on that one. And you know, you look at the Lucian and it is a very big lane bully. You throw help picks on top of it, does even more damage early game. So I actually think that lane should be in Absolute's favor. They should be able to poke Nautilus out early. Lulu is mana intensive, but if they are able to get meaningful damage down, no sustain in the bottom lane, no shield to come across from Nautilus, it will mean that Denian can be punished. And if we've seen anything out of the immunity lineup, it's that if Denian starts falling behind, the team really struggles. And that's what's happened in every game so far.
And they've got aggressive solo laners as well. Cheese, whether he's on some crazy mid like Swain or just playing something a bit more standard like Azir, loves to get kills in his lane as well. So Soulstrike's going to be running around trying to exert a lot of pressure. I mean, we even talked about the top lane, a potential spot he can go to as well. I agree. Immunity, at least in this incarnation, seem like they need to get on the front foot, but we'll see if they can get it done as we look through the team comps as well. Of course, get on Twitter and let us know who you'd like to win the match as well, who you think is going to win. ABS win for Absolute, or IM win for Immunity.
Yeah, and you know, coming in on current form, you'd say Absolute probably playing a little bit better brand of League of Legends, but Immunity have put together a very strong draft here. There's no real weakness that you can see. They team fight incredibly well. They've got a lot of disruption, some good hard CC, as well as the ability to kite back. So very well rounded. Doesn't really peak off at any part of the game. If you've got Azir and you've got Kalista, you're going to be good late game at least. You're also going to be relevant around all objectives just because of the way Kalista works. So I think that they've got a better rounded team fight comp. I also think that with the exception of Ryze, the Absolute team will peak out early. They're looking at a Lucian who's not really a hyper carry, very low range, as well as a Xerath who struggles with tanky members. If this game goes incredibly late, it's really only the Ryze to pull him out of the hole.
I mean, great. That was going to be my next question. What do you think of Ryze just maybe as a champion and be specifically in this team comp?
Yeah, so Ryze is kind of... He's really weird. Ryze has always been weird because in certain matchups, he's a lane bully.
Yep.
But then in other matchups, if you got hard CC and gap closer, Aurelia, Maokai, he's the opposite. He really struggles and has to just try and farm from distance. So my opinion on Ryze has always been kind of the same. You get your two big items, you get your boots too. Merc treads on Ninja Tab. He never gets Sork boots because they're just not good on him. And then you move into the game as kind of this tanky. You've got a big shield. You've got maximum mana. You can run around and do a lot. And then you transition into your tank items. And the further you go down that path, until you hit when you have to buy a Void stuff, he is incredibly strong. As soon as you have to go back to magic penetration, he starts falling off a little bit again because he has the same problem. Really struggles to deal with tanks a lot. He turns into more of a brawl, I think, Aurelia style. So very good throughout, like from 25 to about 35 minutes, then starts to fall off a little bit again.
Yeah, and as you said, Absolute sort of on a timer here in this game. I mean, even the support choice here with Lulu, it definitely fits Strawbella's playstyle, very peel-oriented, so they can dance around with the Xerath maybe, Gragas for disruption, Lucian especially very mobile. Like, I see Absolute winning very scrappy fights where they can use their good mobility, but as you talked about, in a straight-up 5v5 community get to set up, they'll just completely wipe the floor, it feels like.
Oh, 100%. And the thing you have to realize about the Ryze change is that we hit a couple of his mana ratios. So he does scale a little bit better off AP now and not as well off mana. It's only little tiny tweaks, but the numbers when you get a full round combo at the end of the game, they start to add up. And that's why he used to be a complete late game monster. Nowadays, he is good late game, but he's not going to be he's not an Azir, where Azir just starts one-shotting tanks.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen some ridiculous Azir damage as well. So I like what both teams are bringing to the table. I think it's very solid for IM. It's probably good for them to have just a fairly safe draft. Because again, looking for a win, this might be one of their better matchups early on in the OPL to try and, get some momentum and get their first win on the board. And Absolute looking to equalize a very neutral second week for them. If they finish with a win here, it'll be 2-2, which is very respectable for a team newly entering the OPL this split.
That'll be a fantastic start for them. If they're able to go 2-2, move themselves into kind of playoff contention around the cusp there, they'll have a very good starting week. The other thing we have to mention about Immunity is they came up against Sin, who people were unsure of, but I rated pretty high, and I know that a lot of other people did as well. And then they also ran into Chiefs as well as Avant, who are two teams that are looking incredibly strong. So No disrespect to these guys going 0-3. These are the games, however, that we'll see a lot about the Immunity lineup. They need to win this game.
I think for both teams, honestly, we're going to learn a lot about them. So I like the drafts for both teams. All the players are back. Strawbella, I believe, was on vacation, but returning to the roster after matchups were substituting in there. Strong stuff across the board. Denny, especially for me, he's on Callista. It's very carry-oriented. I want to see him perform on the champion.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it will come down a lot to the bottom lane here. I think the top lane will kind of neutralize each other out after about the 10-15 minute mark. But look for Denian to try and prove a point here because he is a good AD carry. He's been around in the scene a long time. And him and T-Gun, they're working on some synergy issues. They need to start pulling it together.
Yeah, and you know, if they can get that together, one of the best PL supports in the league in T-Gun and one of the most aggressive to ever play in Oceania, that's potentially a really good game-winning combination. But I think for me, the other nice thing is that Jack Attack on the rise in the top side, I like that he's sort of going a bit more carry mode as well.
Yeah, well, this is the thing about Jack Attack is he's with a very new team. He kind of is the, without Mattress on the lineup, he is the veteran of the lineup. And the fact that he has an ability to do late game damage will only mean good things for this Absolute lineup.
Well, we'll see what they have to get done here in the early game. Absolute versus Immunity is our opening game of day number 2 here in week 2. The OPL's delivered quite some awesome matches already, and we're just starting our first one here.
Yeah, so we see a big group from both teams coming into the bottom side of the map, and maybe an early invade coming through from Immunity to kick things off. Yeah,
everybody's stacking up here, but a good ward from Absolute will see the Immunity 5-stack moving through the jungle, just trying to get a couple wards down, but potential fireworks, ABS really camping in this brush here looking for someone. I have to think Jack has his snare, but they do not pull the trigger.
Yeah, they don't go for it, and that's a really strange decision because that was a pretty squishy Rek'Sai up the front with no gap closers. They do get the sapling in, though, so everyone will just back away.
Very nice from you being like, hang on a second. If we haven't seen them yet, I'm pretty sure we should check this brush. So going to get a couple more wards down now as well. Absolute going to get some trinkets down as they retreat, but I am looking for deep vision in the bottom side of the jungle. They got it.
Yeah, but I don't know what they really got from that because they're not going to be able to see the lanes. It doesn't look like they're looking for a lane swap. Another thing is, if you're going to invade on Rek'Sai, please take W first. You can just walk around underground. You see people with your Tremor Sense. Would have been a little bit less risky because you actually saw the Xerath move in the brush. So Soul Strike's probably electing to skill up Q first. It gives you a little bit more of a quicker clear, not even necessarily healthier because you get a knock up out of your W. So it's just little things like that at level 1 that can maybe cost you a first blood.
And I think jungle pathing is going to be super important here. We've got high pressure junglers on both sides. Gragas, Rek'Sai, probably the top 2 junglers in the league right now as far as popular picks goes. And if either of them get any of these lanes rolling, and you look across them, they've got some late game beasts in the mid and top lane for IM Absolute especially. Malik going to start Krugs. Denny, I believe, yep, half experience there, so did get shared the Grump experience with T-Gun. You have to know Denny always wants to be aggressive, going to look to start things off early in the bottom.
Yeah, so they're looking to get ahead early and push a level 2 advantage, but that will put Soul Strikes behind a little bit, and Gragas flies around the jungle.
I mean, you can kind of tell why Soul Strikes might have not wanted to start W. Level 2 already, Strawbella. Not quite on the mark there for T-Gun, but level 1 don't really want to fight. Cooler going in, though, and they're being very brave in this trade.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they're trading back really nicely. Once T-Gun missed that hook, Strawbella, range advantage, able to bully him out.
And this is, I think, what people forget about Lulu as a support specifically. I think maybe apart from Morgana, she's probably the best Spell Thief edge support in the league.
Yeah, she certainly is, able to get a lot out of that with the harass coming through, and you see that they've started to shove back out, equalize the lane, and they'll be completely fine from here, you'll think.
Mid lane here as well. Going to be pretty quiet, you have to think, for most of the game. Mid Beast really just wants to try and farm as much as he can and avoid this.
Yeah, he certainly does. He doesn't want to auto-attack from as close as possible. That was a unique decision coming through there. But he'll be able to just shove that wave out after about level 5, and Azir will be forced to farm at his turret. The problem, Xerath doesn't really do much with that shove. Can't really pressure other lanes unless you count the ultimate. Not really that roaming ganker mid.
No, a bit difficult to roam there. As you can see, the junglers moving through their jungle, but Soul Strikes, level 2, might be looking for a gank on the top side. Jack's been caught. Forced to flash there is the Rise, and this is exactly what you talked about.
Yeah, it certainly was, but they should have known that Rise had a ward there, and Soul Strikes burnt his flash after Jack had flashed. A little bit of a error there coming through from the jungler, because that means that the next gank going to be very hard unless he comes through lane.
You see Jack farming reasonably well as well. Is going to have to play fairly far back in his lane now, given that his flash is burnt. But you're right, that threat so much of Rek'Sai's early pressure comes from that flash on Burrow, and that's not an option for the next few minutes.
Yeah, so not going to have that for the same amount of time. Rise doesn't have his escape ability. Realistically, probably more important for Rise to have his, so still a net game for Immunity coming off the back of that. And Cheese, he started to get aggressive in the mid lane, trying to shove Mid Beast around.
They're good shoving their Mid Beast, missing that Q poke, and I like Cheese's positioning there as well, trying to be on the side of the lane, so you have the choice. Either wave clear back or poke me. You don't get to do both.
Yeah, so able to get a little bit of lane dominance back in the lane. Now Soul Strikes, he's still moving around as if he wants to gank Jack Attack here. The only really option is to go into the jungle and go over the wall, as you can see him trying to do now. Malik on the opposite side of the map. He's not going to be able to stop this at all, so they can go for it if they want.
Big commitment there as Jack, you can see the shield is going to wear up there from the Q, and he's going to get, from the passive, and he's going to get chased down fairly soon. I don't know if they have the damage, but they're going to go in for it. Soul Strikes comes through, gets the Umbaro. Ryu comes in as well, but Soul Strike, oh, they trade. Whoa, they don't. Jack Attack gets the first kill, couldn't get the turret aggro, and there's a double for the Risers. Down the bottom, Strawbella going to get hooked up by T-Gun. Denian gets exhausted. Kulo fighting Denian, flashes forward. Great Q there to keep him alive. Kulo's going to come through. Strawbella just lives from a shield. Kulo, one last auto, gets the kill. T-Gun going to get chased down now as well. An absolute come up massive in both those trades.
Yeah, so they're able to pick up 2 winning trades. The reason creeps are just so strong and never take turret shots. That was a bad tunnel coming through from Soul Strikes. Put him in turret range, he took 2 shots. In response, Ryu took 3, I believe. And that was just way too much. That's better than another person up there for a 2v2. I'll take the turret at 5 minutes any day of the week.
And you can see Jack Attack returns to his lane. Tear of the Goddess already completed. Got both parts of his Catalyst up now as well. Really strong on this Rise. Ryu's just going to return with his Catalyst components. If Jack was worried before after losing his flash, he can probably be just fine now.
Yeah, exactly right. No flash on Ryu. The fact that Ryu took a camp and wasn't able to teleport back to lane gives Jack a 10 CS advantage right now as well. And he's just getting to that point in the game where he probably wanted to be in about 4 minutes' time so much earlier.
Yeah, and we talked about the veteran player here, an absolute Onomor carry-esque champion here on the Rise. Couldn't have asked for a much better start. Soul Strike's very cheeky. Gets the crab with a smite.
Yeah, able to grab the crab, but you can see he's a couple of camps already behind the Gragger, so that's not going to be good things for the Unity lineup. And it's already about a 400, 500 gold lead coming through for Absolute, just off the back of some better, I guess, response to gank.
Jeez, has to be careful. That was an excellent response to the body slam. Malik didn't have his flash, so he couldn't quite get in his face, and a good dash away there keeps his is safe.
Yeah, so not able to make Cheese pay before level 6. Now the level 6 matchups come through. He's going to be a lot more safe as T-Gun sweeps out of water on his way down the river. He's got his Sightstone fairly early. It's only 7 minutes into the game. Hasn't upgraded the Targons at all. So he's going to be a very tanky Nautilus.
Yep, just sort of hanging out here. In fact, Sightstone's early for both of the supports, so wanting to get that early vision down. You can see junglers without flashes, maybe still looking for some pressure. Kulo, though, going to fight it onto Denian, and a big trade comes in, but that was won by Lucian.
Yeah, Lucian won it, but Denian has some sustain in the fact that he's got the early Vamp Scepter as well as the Targon, so we'll be relatively okay with just trading the way he did. The wave's also in a really good spot for them, so Denian not in too much trouble yet.
And no, and Soul Strikes comes back to the top side as Denian maybe get a bit more trouble now, eats a couple more shots by the looks of things. Jack, though, keeping his wave nice and set there on the top side of the map. He knows that he's a gank target here, so he's trying to stay as safe as possible.
Yeah, so they're going with the camp Jack Attack route, but his level 6 has some mobility and his smite's nearly back up. You think that that strategy kind of, the ship sailed on it a little while ago when they both died to the turret. Get into the bottom lane, because right now your Kalista is getting bullied around and Colo making Denian pay.
Yeah, you can see zoning him off the wave as best they can. Almost about to hit 6 in the bottom side as well, so big ultimate's going to be up for these duos as well. Soul Strikes leaves the top side. You can see Jack, it was one of the very old things about Rise when he was more popular top lane. That low base AD means the minion wave almost never moves.
Yeah, exactly right. You can freeze it for as long as you want with no effort at all and even go aggressive.
Yeah, a bit of damage there, but really going to shake some of that off here as Jack Attack just burns through a little bit of mana harassing him, but you can see Face tanking the wave. He's super tanky as well. Looks pretty defensive masteries there as well. And Ryu starting to fall behind. He's about 10 CS behind. That's not going to stop, unfortunately. Marco goes back for a Catalyst, but he's almost retired to just throwing saplings into the wave and hoping to break the freeze.
Yeah, he just wants to try and get it shoved out as quickly as possible. Soul Strike's now waiting mid. Really got to question the jungle pathing of the immunity jungler right now. His blue buff's been up for a minute. Cheese needs it, needs the experience. better yet, needs the fact that it just goes on cooldown after you kill it, and they're leaving it up for a lot too long right now. Isn't even level 6, so he's starting to fall behind a lot in the jungle. Picks it up off the Raptors.
Yeah, I'm going to go back now as well. Maybe get some components for either Warrior or Cinderhulk. Probably going to be Cinderhulk here for Rek'Sai. Haven't seen a Warrior in quite a long time, but there's the Barmy Cinder, but going to come through to blue buff now. Malik pretty much just farming up. You can see a slight farm difference there. Gragas level 6 now already as well. Maybe looking to influence it, laying with a good gank.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether he can get in there. Flash nearly back available as well, so the body slam into the explosive cast, definitely on the table. Look for him to probably go mid lane, wants to get Cheese behind because Cheese farming up a very nice tick in the mid lane on the Azir, which should be a counter matchup. Now grabs his blue buff as well, so he's going to be completely fine against Xerath.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like that you point out that Cheese is slightly ahead here. It's certainly a soft counter matchup, so Mid-Beast isn't supposed to, like, landslidedly win the lane, but Cheese just played it really well. The few times we saw mid, as we see a trade there, Danny going to get turned into a squirrel. Good Ren damage coming in as well, and Kulo has to be a bit more careful about positioning.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's got a huge wave built up there, so he didn't want to lose any of it. And they're doing fine in the bottom lane here. Absolute Kulo and Strawbella seem to have found the synergy that was lacking week 1.
She's going in there, but Kulo gets hooked. Depth shot as well. Soul Strikes. Flash on Bar, but he flashes out Strawbella. Ults herself, but that's enough for Jack to now come riding in. And he's going to try and get the trade down. Doesn't quite kill Denian, but he wants it. No, he does have Flash, but he can't find a target. Cheese roams down as well. And Mid-Beast going to stuck wave clearing. Jack, very good teleport, but couldn't claim a kill.
Yeah, couldn't get anything in response, but that was a 3v2. They didn't have to commit nearly as enough. And you look at the fact that T-Gun, he used the Ignite. They're going in on Mid-Beast here.
Yep, he's going to be in trouble now. Going to have to try and kite away. Good stun onto Cheese. Prevents the knock-up from the E following in. And that looked very easy.
Yeah, so Cheese actually missed his combo there. Otherwise, he would have traveled regardless because it's very hard to stop a Azir once he's in midair with those soldiers. And now Mid-Beast starting to shove out relatively well. What I wanted to point out, the fact that Immunity once again tanked a lot of needless turret damage in that bottom lane. Really didn't commit to the dive, was trying to fight around the outskirts and took just so much.
Oh, that's too far for Mid-Beast. Gets ulted there by Cheese into the knockup by Soul Strikes. Pops the heal though to be safe. Malik's here in the mid lane. Can he find the nice ulti? Beautiful work into the turret. Mid-Beast takes the kill, lands 3 shots onto Soul Strikes. Malik gonna keep coming in. Body slam lands, but T-Gun's here to peel him off with a hook. But that was exceptional work by the jungler.
Yeah, Absolute just seem to have the read on Immunity right now. Immunity want to go aggressive, but every time they do, Absolute make them pay. And that was the first time we've seen Malik out of the jungle. He's about 3 camps ahead and made Soul Strikes really regret that decision.
That was quite the counter gank, as ABS might even be looking for a dragon here. Strawbella going to get some wards down. Crab is available, so see if a team wants to go in for it. Denian, though, stacking up the rank. Kulo's going to try and make it happen. Exhaust goes down. Light Slinger lands, and Kulo claims another.
Yeah, so Strawbella, really fortuitous timing there coming back as we take a look at the mid lane. So Cheese starts this off well, gets in there, gets a good knock-up. Mid-Beast, however, he kites back very well and just Malik arove at the best time possible. Cheese takes a turret shot, Mid-Beast hits the damage and then lands 3 nice ultimates. Means Soul Strikes needs to get the heck out of there, and that would have been worse if T-Gun wasn't there in response.
Yeah, Malik finished the Cinderhulk now as well, so more than tanky enough to handle that jungler who's very low after those great ultis by Mid-Beast. Wonderful coordination to see here from ABS. You said it. The synergy that they seem to be lacking sort of coming into the OPL, much more apparent now at the end of week 2.
Yeah, especially the bottom lane. They're really starting to impress me down there because I thought arguably they looked just as strong with Mattress, if not more so. But that's a sub, of course. Strawbella definitely in this performance earning her spot back on the starting lineup after her vacation. She seems very refreshed.
She does indeed, and I love ABS. They seem to be, like you said, using Immunity's aggression against them. It's been counter ganks or baits with Lulu shields or ultis or just strong reactive play. They almost expected Immunity, and you would playing against them, to just play aggressively into them, and they've taken advantage of every single turn to the tune of about 2,000 gold ahead.
Well, when you look at the Immunity lineup, it's Ryu and Soul Strikes, who Soul Strikes is a really aggressive jungler. Ryu kind of can be both in the top lane, but then you got Denian and Cheese. You know they're going to be an aggressive team, so why not use that against them and really just try and get your good vision down? Take a look at exactly where Absolute have warded all of the ganking paths coming through there, so they know where they need to counter gank.
Yeah, there's an absolute ridiculous amount of wards on the right-hand side of the map there for Absolute. Soul Strike's going back into the mid lane. Another good stun. Cheese does find it, but he can't connect in to land the ulti back. And Mid-Beast just going to get some good poke in return.
Yeah, so he gets a lot of damage down one more time. And Cheese can't seem to get that combo together.
Depth charge down the Wild Growth pot there. Denian getting lower. Strawbella turns T-Gun into a squirrel. The Culling moves in. T-Gun flash autos for the kill on Nautilus. And they couldn't quite protect Lucian that time.
Yeah, but once again, they use so many summoner spells.
Oh, Malik's here in the mid. Cheese uses his ulti, dashes away. First ult misses, second will hit, and that's more than enough to get the kill for Xerath.
Yeah, so mid beast coming up massive, takes down Cheese again, who's now, even though he's up in CS, 0-2 down. And this Xerath, who we said would slump in the mid game if he keeps picking up kills, he'll miss that trough altogether.
That's exactly where mid beast wants to be, as Strawbella pulls the wave in bottom lane as well, just to save some more creeps for Kulo. Denian, that killer instinct always there as well on the Kalista, looking to maybe go in, building in towards the Bloodthirster as Soul Strikes is back. Jacked over with a good snare there and just pokes some damage, and he's 2 levels ahead of that jungler.
Yeah, exactly right. He's just able to keep him under there. He's already got that Rod of Ages built up. That's starting to stack through. And Malik and Strawbella, they're doing a fine job of keeping this lane exactly where they want it for Kulo.
Yep, Kulo comes back down as well. Infinity Edge almost completed here in ABS. Sindu moving towards a dragon. Teleport's almost up for both top laners, so they'll be able to join in soon if they want. But they seem to see an advantage, and they want to try and capitalize on it now.
Yeah, they see the blue buff with that ward, and all of a sudden they're spotted out Denian and T-Gun as well. Rek'Sai top side of the map, can't come down to respond.
Good wards through tunnels in the area. There is one just above for Soul Strikes to come through to. T-Gun goes in. Malik takes the blue buff, though, and that's a key thing to take away from Cheese.
Yeah, another nice polymorph, or they're going in.
Yeah, they are going to try and fight here. Teleport's not quite happening yet. Strawbella getting chased away by T-Gun, and Soul Strikes looks for the Umbaro, gets Wild Growth instead, will Rek'Sai. And there's nothing there for IM.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything. Soul Strikes used Flash as well, just couldn't get in there. Ryu's teleport must have been stopped up in the top lane because that was coming through at some point, and Jack Attack is on the offensive.
He might even get a kill here. It's going to take quite a bit of damage to get through the Maokai, but keeps him safe, retains the 4v4, keeps his teleport advantage there as well. The blue buff steal was there. The dragon might not have been, but that was a one trade for ABS.
Yeah, so they're able to get in, exert their dominance, and once again, Soul Strikes, your blue buff is up. Why are you taking Krugs? There's no reason to be on that side of the map. You're probably not killing Jack Attack anymore. He's already past the point of the game where he's squishy. He's got his roller and his tier.
They're going to go back and get even tankier potentially there as well. Mid B is going to claim his blue though. So that's something that Cheese will not have in this matchup. And that CS should get much more even as Strawbella going to go back. Kulo probably has enough for his Infinity Edge as Jack goes in and almost kills Ryu in the top lane.
Yeah, and he's keeping his flash available there. Ryu hasn't got his. And we keep mentioning this. The low base AD means that Jack, he can shove the wave out as slowly or as quickly as he wants, depending on whether he auto-attacks or whether he uses the abilities.
And you can see just kind of chunking it out, stacking up that tier as well. Maokai pretty much just has to throw saplings into the wave and hope to claim some last hits here in Ryu. He's so low. This is all without jungle pressure as well. Jack got ganked twice in a row, I believe. Sits himself 2-1-0 in the top lane, and this Maokai completely zoned off.
Yeah, so he's not getting anything right now, Maokai, and worse yet, the wave is stacking up, so he's in danger of being dove.
Yeah, Jack gonna go in. Damage is thrown through. Q just missing there for Rise, though. Might have been enough for the kill. Pops his ulti, does Jack as well. And he's gonna go back, and ABS might look for what, at this point, is gonna be quite a late first dragon.
Yeah, so they can set up and do it. Soul Strikes, he's going back towards the top lane. Really questioning how much attention right now they're giving to Ryu, because he's outright losing the lane in a 1v1, and I don't know if Soul Strikes can even repair it.
You can see Jack as well has got his flash, feels very safe with Ryu, still quite low. Going to shove the minions back in, pressure on that turret, and you can see around near the dragon as well are ABS, but Ryu cannot join them. Jack can if he wants, he just needs to get and not have his teleport cancelled, and mid-beast with a blue buff is unstoppable in the mid lane right now. Yeah,
and Jack just continues to pressure Ryu up there, who's ulti's about to run out.
Yeah, he might looking for a kill, does pop in. The ulti's still there. Now wears off. Jack gonna dive in, goes for the turret instead. Little awkward on the tower dive as the mending wave comes in as well. But down the bottom, Malik gonna come through. Jack kills Ryu, takes out the turret. Nothing Maokai can do. An absolute all over this early game.
And that was a legitimate 2v1 lane nearly in the end. Jack Attack able to stave off pressure multiple times, picks up the turret and the kill at the same time. And Soul Strikes needed to do probably a little bit more in the early game. Ryu wasn't able to pressure the lane whatsoever, was never in a position where Soul Strikes could really gank, and just the top jungle synergy didn't seem to be
Yeah,
there.
and that Infinity Edge was done for Lucian as Soul Strike's coming to the top lane, but not going to do anything against this Ryze, who he's 3 levels down on. Key items were completed for ABS. Soul Strike's had to use his ulti to get back into the jungle as Denian goes down to Kulo. Malik going to dive in, does have his ulti, moves Tigan into the wall for a mini stun. Cheese, though, going to ride Malik back in, but a good wild growth will knock up Cheese. Ultimate almost enough to kill Malik, but ABS in complete control still.
Yeah, meanwhile, while Denian got soloed out in the bottom lane by Kulo with that Infinity Edge you mentioned, and across the map, Absolute just seemed to be having a field day.
Good snipe from Mid Beast as well. Takes out T-Gun. Field Day is right here. Spawn 9 and 2 up in kills, 1-0 up in turrets, 1-0 up in dragons, and about 4,000 gold ahead already.
And the alarming thing, Pastry, is the fact that there's 9 kills, but there's only 4 assists. That means that 5 of the kills have been straight up 1v1, skill errors, or just like the weird turret dive we saw top lane where everything went wrong for Immunity. The impressive thing right now is they're just winning this game purely off the fact that they're playing it better. Yeah,
they get a turret in the bottom side as well, and ABS, they do have to pressure early. That's the one thing we noted with their team comp. Surprisingly mid-game centric, especially with this double AP, but as far as mid-games go, they're about to have a really good one.
Yeah, they certainly are. They arrived so much earlier than they would have liked, especially with that Ryze, who's now also finished up the Archangels. So he's completely fine. Max mana on the way. Kulo fighting Denny in
Good
again.
bait as well. Strawbelly going to come back in. T-Gun joins through with the Fates Call. Does get the pop up there. Heal goes down. Good damage coming onto Kulo, who's almost died. That was a hook by T-Gun. Claims the kill, but the teleport's coming through. And Jack, he is absolutely terrifying on this Ryze. Just need a slow, but Malik might be enough TC. Lands it onto T-Gun. Not quite enough. Their ulti back as well. Turned into a squirrel. And that's going to be a dead Nautilus.
Yeah, and Malik's ultimate have been on point with this Gragas, knocking T-Gun away from the ridge, back into his team. They're going for another blue buff invade.
Oh, gonna get it? No, I don't. No, I think Malik got it with the smite there, but Ryu now gonna port back in, finds Jack attack, but the wild growth is there. Too many people in the area, though. Jack will fall to Denian as the ulti comes out for mid-base. That's a lot of damage onto Danny as he eats a bolt, but little out of position here as Malik gonna get caught up as well. Soul Strike's gonna look for the unborrowed, not quite gonna find it, but a turret here, not quite in range for them to walk to. Good juke there from Malik to get out from under the arcane smash, but an ulti from Cheese gets him off the turret, and Soul Strikes finally gets the kill.
Yeah, so they finally get something back, close that gold gap, but they may lose mid-turret as mid-beast continues to push in. So overall, that was a 1 for 3. Oh, Denian.
Yeah, Kulo going back in. He's got his zeal. Culling goes out. That's a kill there as Kulo going to get dove now by Ryu, and Soul Strikes might be a trade. Is indeed as Cheese claims that kill instead. T-Gun able to save the mid turret, I think. No, never mind. ABS are able to get it, but Immunity answering with a turret in the bottom side. Starting to really fight back here because they need to. ABS have been all over them in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe this is what they needed to do. Make the game deteriorate a little bit. Get to the scrappy fights that the veteran players should be able to come through in. Good shot calling. And you saw that that was the first time Immunity really used their aggression to continue through with it. They didn't care that they lost T-Gun at the start. They still wanted to commit to the fight, and it worked out in their favor.
Yep, and they've actually kind of moved that gold lead down just a bit as well. It's about 3,000 now between ABS, with them still having a lead. You can look through the gold here as well. Big news is absolutely Jack Attack there in the top lane. He's almost 2,000 gold ahead of Ryu.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, all of that gold is on the top lane. And we mentioned the fact that Ryze does have some weird windows, so if they can capitalize on this, maybe... Oh, he's got the transformation. Yep. There's no way they're capitalizing. He's so strong right now.
Merctred's finished there as well. Jack Attack is an absolute monster. Denian's even rotating in to try and maybe take that turret down. But even in a 1v2, we've sort of seen it already. Jack is absolutely fearsome. And the bad news for Immunity, at this point onwards, he only gets tankier.
Yeah, especially with the fact he's got Merctreds.
Actually might be trying to line up a kill.
Yeah, Denian might die. What is he doing? He's kind of throwing spells off screen.
I mean, yeah, he already got his Seraph as a great ulti from Cheese. Might kill mid-beast. Misses the stun. Good juke from Cheese. Comes in and Cheese gets the shutdown. Now ulti's in the top side. Jack Attack forcing the kite back to his turret. Fate's Goal gets popped. Denian dives in, but that's way too deep now. Although T-Gun now taking the turret. Good ran there to pick up the kill. And Immunity's aggression starting to pay off.
Yeah, it certainly is. They pick up 2 kills simultaneously. They'll grab another turret, and Denian and T-Gun finally getting some work done as this Nautilus Callista combo. Need to be careful here, Absolute, because they had the game pretty much exactly where they wanted it, but a couple of mistakes mean that it's going to be back to pretty much equal.
Yeah, about 1,500 gold ahead now, so that gold lead now cut in half after we last checked in.
700 gold.
Yep, turret goes down, so now under 1,000. Dragon back up in a minute. but I am going to go back, spend some good money here in ABS. Sort of caught out there. 2 different turrets, 2 different kills go down, and Immunity are, as you said, almost all square.
Yeah, so they've really been able to get the game back onto equal footing with the better scaling comp. So credit to Immunity for, after a very sloppy early game, rotating around the map early, picking the fights they needed, and understanding exactly where Absolute were going to overreach.
And probably one of the difficult things for Absolute in this game is the fact that we have Dragon back up in 30 seconds. But the first Dragon was so late that ABS can't even use that as a potential mid-game snowball option, because by the time that 5th Dragon rolls around, I am going to be done scaling.
Yeah, exactly right. They're going to be at the end game comp to Azir and Kalista, and Kalista's against a fairly squishy lineup here are going to be in full effect of being able to chunk people out. So I agree, if Absolute want to do anything, they still need to be trying to make moves right now.
And I think I can see why Danian wanted to last pick his AD carry. I agree. Kalista against double AP especially is real good stuff, and she still sees play with all the Cinderhawk tanks running around. I am, though, Pink Ward there in the pit, going to clear out some vision if they want it, but just fighting at this stage of the game. Malik might be looking for a steal, goes in for it, but does not get it. Going to get twisted advance instead there by Ryu. After the Cycooler getting grabbed, that's massive damage as Jack Attack just peels off the support. Culling goes down there. Fate's Call's been used there by Danian. And Dragon goes to Immunity. No kills just yet, but each team's going to walk away.
Still surprised that they didn't fight there, Absolute. They do have a little bit of a lead, and there are some squishy members. Jack Attack caught out.
Yeah, mid-beast with some good poke. You can see Cheese going to get poked back as well. Ulti out there, hits just missing the last one as Cheese dashes out from under it, but ABS trying to get a bit more proactive here. Luden's Echo done for this Xerath. Looks like Jack might be working on one as well. They're about to hit the peak of their comp, but they need to get something rolling.
Yeah, Luden's Echo coming through on Rise. That's a very interesting pickup because he does get a lot of spell rotations out and moves around a lot during the team fight, so the proc will be there. What he'll miss out on, though, is the defensive statistics coming through of maybe an early, something like an Abyssal Scepter I currently like on the how Rise currently works. So it will be a trade-off, but they're just looking to push the mid-game as hard as possible.
Yeah, trying to siege up here with all their poke. Mid-beast with the Ludens and the blue buff does do work under this turret, but plenty of wave clear between the saplings. The Q from Maokai. Didn't if he gets in the way, although he doesn't quite have his recurve Runen, sorry, actually going for a Blade of the Ruin King second here.
Yeah, so he's going for the double lifesteal options coming through. Just wants to survive in the fights for as long as possible. I think that might be risky, to say the least, because of the fact that you've already got this Xerath who's doing a lot of damage with the Luden's Echo, not to mention the fact that Malik's shown that he can catch people off guards with his ultimate. So I think that he will need to be careful with the current build because he is very single target focused, not many Ren set opportunities coming through. But if he is able to survive and kite back, going to be very hard to kill him after the initial burst. Yeah,
it seems like Cheese might be able to do enough for the damage, so it's almost like Denian's just there to provide secondary damage, but Cheese, his death cap's completed, he's quite strong at this point. Ryu's got his Righteous Glory and a couple of cost-efficient tank items. Lock it down for Soul Strikes. Like we said, that gold, pretty much all equal at this point. You look down ABS, seems like their inventories need a little bit more before they can start pushing that mid-game that they really want to claim with this comp.
Yeah, exactly right. And the Luden's Echo delays the fact the Void Staff coming through on Xerath. You probably figure he wants a Death Cap next coming through there, so that might hurt him a little bit against a tanky lineup, although T-Gun now caught.
It does get caught, but he's fairly tanky. Q's away to a wall though, and Jack trying to find some damage. Strawbella going to rotate in as well, but Jack does not have enough CC. Scuttlecrab falls there to Immunity, starting to really take purchase over the map now that it's opened up a bit more.
Yeah, so Jack Attack not able to get the work done that he needed to up there. You see that Rise, he's starting to struggle a little bit in the damage department on the tanky members, and this is always a problem when you're playing things like Cinderhawk Rek'Sai, like Maokai. You just need to hit them so much for them to die, and Jack Attacks can't get all that damage down himself because they're so tanky.
And mid-beast is all burst-oriented as well, so it's a bit tricky. I mean, Maokai in general is very good against double AP, and I think against this comp especially good at this stage. As Kulo might have been caught, but Fate's Call will keep T-Gun in safety. Denny, now going to get Flash Net. Ulti's coming through. It's good Q lands onto Jack Attack. Great ran there by Denny, and not enough damage coming through as Ryu's ported and jumped straight in onto mid-beast. Ulti from Cheese moves the rest of ABS back in. Kulo's going to get CC'd next. He just get knocked around by all of the single target CC that IAM have. And they've arrested control back of this game. Going to chase down Kulo, but they'll probably settle for the turret in top instead.
No, they're going for the Baron. Really smart shot calling coming through. And that was a very good example of a new team versus a veteran lineup because Absolute, they targeted two different people. Jack Attack snared up Denny and wanted to kill him, but mid-beast altered T-Gun. the big tanky Nautilus, they weren't able to burst out Denny, and they killed Jack Attack, and the turnaround was really on. Baron will fall down to the Callista, and Immunity, they've probably got a lot of the game back on their terms.
Yeah, 2,000 gold up, and let's see this again.
Yeah, so you see Jack Attack, he wants to fight right here because he has the inside lane, and they chunk out T-Gun. But here, all the focus should be on Denny, and instead the ults come across onto T-Gun. Denny turns around a lot of the damage, and you see how strong Mid-Beast is. He probably would have been able to kill him there. In the end, they turn around the team fight. They take 3 people off the map and grab themselves a Baron. It was just a little bit of a misplayed situation.
And a great port there from you, and a wonderful ult by Cheese leads to a very one-sided team fight towards the end of it. Immunity now with the Baron, dragging up in 125 here as well. But you can see with the way they're positioned, going to look to pressure down the wave with the Baron up minions.
Yeah, they certainly are. They want to get in, get the gold lead even further in their favor, because the more tanky stats they can get, the easier this game is going to become, because all they have to do right now is outlast Absolute's Power Spy.
Might need to split up a bit to try and pressure some of these other waves. I like that Soul Strike specifically is going to go down, because you can see Mid-Beast, decent wave clear at this stage, adding a blasting one into the AP, but even the Baron up minions, especially with Denian safely hitting away at the turret, these turrets are starting to melt. ABS do have to concede some territory.
Yeah, so they're not going to be able to defend that one. And wow, Cheese takes half of Kulo's health, and Soul Strikes, you mentioned him on the bottom side of the map. He had a tunnel in the middle of mid lane. It was maybe a little bit further away, but he does have his ultimate available, whereas Ryu doesn't have the teleport, and that's why they've gone with the jungler split pushing. Also, Rek'Sai does really good with farm. One of the few junglers that, if you get fed, really does impact late game.
Yeah, we've seen Black Cleaver top Rek'Sai be a thing in some other regions, so he's going to collect some juicy farm as I am with a good rotation down to the bottom side, get themselves a 5th turret of the game. So 1 tier 2 turret left, ABS starting to lose a few too many structures, and that Baron buff really turned it around after that team fight.
Yeah, it certainly did. It went from about equal to now 4,000 gold in Immunity's favor. They'll probably be able to pick up their 2nd dragon of the game now as it spawns, and overall, Absolute started this game really impressively. They were capitalizing on a lot of mistakes, but they just weren't able to get it done when it really mattered in the mid game.
I mean, I think maybe didn't quite pick the win condition that they could have actually gone for. I mean, Dragon, we noted, was quite late. I am actually going to pick up their 2nd now, and that's mainly just to deny it away, and maybe if it gets to super late game, have an option to take the 5th away as well. But Immunity pretty happy in that position. Will keep pressing their advantage, but have sort of reined it in after what was a very messy early game for them.
Yeah, exactly right. They went messy early game, then kind of ran with it, I want to say, because they still kept it fairly sloppy, but were able to pick up kill after kill. And now that they picked up the Baron buff, they're very methodical, rotating around the map and grabbing objectives. This is maybe something we'll see out of Immunity. If they get a lead, I think they'll be a very good team. I'm just interested to see how they get to that part of the game.
I think I agree. Is Immunity going to go back? That's 6 turrets down there that they've taken away. So all the tier 2s now gone as well. Just those inhibitor turrets remaining. Gold leads are massive, and some of the purchases fairly large as well.
Yeah, so you see another needlessly large rod coming through on Cheese. The Hurricane finished up now for Denny, and he's 70, 80 CS behind, by the way, but still able to be relevant just because of how much standing gold they took off the map just in their 3 turrets up. You see Ryu, he's getting increasingly tanky. He's finished up the Spirit Visage, working towards your Frozen Heart. And across the map, it just looks like Immunity picked up some really crucial buys.
Yeah, Jax Ludens is done. Bled Through and King almost done for Kulo. I mean, even Midbeast still working on that next big item, whether it's a Death Cap or maybe just a cost-efficient Void Staff. The Righteous Glory that Malak was working on for a while as well, finally coming online also, I think, a few minutes ago. ABS, they have plenty of good options now, but this is what they wanted maybe a couple minutes ago. I feel like they just missed some very narrow windows, which certainly something you can fix, but is a sign of a team that's maybe less experienced than someone like Immunity.
Yeah, they did a really good job of getting the lead, so full credit to ABS in this game. They turned a couple of really important ganks and played Immunity's game maybe better than what Immunity was expecting. However, as you mentioned, once they got to that part in the game, once they had Jack Attack fed, Kulo was doing a great job in the bottom lane. They kind of took their foot off the pedal for one moment, made a non-committal engagement top, and lost everything. Yeah,
and Cheese has consistently kept ahead despite all the pressure throwing at his lane. Yes, he died 2 times. He had a very awkward early game, much like the rest of his team, but now up 40 plus CS, almost 50 at this stage, is absolutely massive with a death cap and a ton of AP done now as well. I mean, Azir's almost always going to be the crowning jewel in any team comp it's in. I feel like, especially with how many utility-style carries there are playing, and you can just see level 16 blue buff Azir, he's taken over the game.
Yeah, exactly right. He's able to get in there, shove people around. He'll be able to clear out tunnels as well relatively easy. So Cheese definitely at home on the Azir pickup. Now, mechanics, they were rusty early on in the game. His ultimate in the last team fight showed that that's disappeared now as well. So he's in a position to start taking over.
Caught Jack here as well coming through. Ult flash there by Jack Attack, so not quite there for Cheese. He gets chunked out by Mid Beast. ABS have to really milk this poke to try and keep IM out of their base. Baron buff has dropped, so they've got a decent chance of clearing it out as Ryu might have been caught out here. Soul Strike's the next target. Malik, though, dives straight into the enemy team. Wild Growth will keep him alive for a little while longer, but Ryu's now found Kulo. Denny ain't going to turn around. Flash out there for Lucian, but he's still going to die. Might be alive. No, T-Gun takes him out. Ryu's going to come through. Cheese and Denny with plenty of damage. Mid Beast is dead. That's 2-0. Immunity low, but they're not out.
Yeah, so they're low, but they're going to be able to lifesteal back up, take down this turret. They will break the base. And Absolute, they were so close, but not able to repel.
And you see Immunity, a bit of, again, a sloppy engage. Almost leads to a one fight for ABS, but Inhibitor should fall. Denny going to come in for the last auto attack. Jack completely zoned out by Cheese's ridiculous autos at this stage. And we look up and see that gold lead. Immunity now 7,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, they just keep pushing it a little bit further every single time we look up there. Baron up in 40 seconds. They took the mid inhibitor. Absolute really need to try and shove out right now and get in a position to fight this. They will be up and available, but that might be where Immunity roll the dice next.
I mean, we'll have to see. Frozen Heart now completed for you and the Spirit Visage plus an Elixir. Randuin's almost done for Soul Strikes. Pickaxe completed there for Denian. And Cheese is going for Ludens. He wants all damage all the time.
Yeah, he wants to be able to do that consistent damage, you know, but he builds much more nicely into a third item Void Staff with the way he went for his build path as opposed to Xerath, who went for the Luden second. So Xerath probably had more damage at that point in the game, but now that we're past that point, there was just no other way you could go apart from Death Cap, and all of a sudden, with all the MR picked up, that's a very risky build to have tried to go for in this game.
Yeah, I noticed it earlier, but didn't note it. I'm actually went double locket here in this game, so really smart as Cheese. Just takes out a poor support sitting in the mid lane.
Yeah, so that will be Baron probably going over to the Immunity lineup again. Denian already started throwing spears into it. Ryu in the bottom lane, and it doesn't look like Absolute want to fight.
Now Ryu's got his teleport here, plenty of spears and a smite. Going to mean this Baron is going to be Immunity. Soul Strike smites in. The Ren from Kalista manages to secure it. Death Touch landing in. It's found Malik there. Cheese going to dive his way back in. Good ulti from Gragas to keep him safe, but Soul Strike's going to keep chasing. Midbeast doing what he can. Fate's Call moving through. Massive hook there for T-Gun. Finds Malik, and Denian finds his 6th kill of the game.
Yeah, so finally Denian starting to roll. They're now moving through the jungle. Ryu's about to go.
He's low, but the shield's there. Face of the mountain protects him. Cooler with the fadeaway culling. Can't quite find the kill, and Immunity continuing their pressure.
Yeah, they can still prep bottom lane. They've got teleport on their top lane, or Azir walking back in here. Need to be slightly careful, but Soul Strikes will go back as well, so they decide a full reset's in need.
Dragon up in 12 seconds as well. Might just want to take that with Kalista and the Soul Strike Smite, because he can get back with the tunnels fairly quickly. I mean, Immunity have so many options at this stage. T-Gun's even prepping the bottom side with the Nautilus. One of the few supports that actually wave clears relatively well.
Yeah, he certainly does. Just spams the E out there, able to pick up a lot of his stacks, even early game coming through from the Targon. Face of the Mountain now fully done actually for T-Gun, and they weathered this game really well as Soul Strikes picks up another kill. We've been very critical on the Dragon. Yeah, been very critical of how Immunity's been playing the early game, but to be able to turn it around, get it back into a position where they're on the winning side of the map. Really credit to the veteran lineup coming through here and putting together a fairly good late game.
Yeah, it's looked great. We talked about their comp. They certainly had the scaling. ABS, it almost felt like the game was in their hands at one point here to try and take over, but a couple missteps here and there capitalized very well by the veteran squad. And Immunity going to try and push down another tower. Jack's teleporting in. Ryu going to counter teleport here on top of the turret tanking minion. And Immunity might just dive into the lines here as they're going to take out the turret.
Yeah, it looks like they just want the turret. Play it nice and slow. Get the second inhibitor. And Jack Attack's caught.
Yep, they're going to find the Rise. It's too much damage coming through. Wild Growth is not even enough as Cheese takes it out. T-Gun going to come through as well, but Lockets are popping everywhere. Immunity going to take out a second inhibitor. And ABS, this is a lot to try and fight off, and I don't think they can.
Yeah, so Immunity finally put their foot down. Strawbella caught out.
Good hook from T-Gun. Soul Strike's moving through. Kulo dashes out, but another kill comes down. The Nexus turret, will fall. The Nexus joins it shortly after, an Immunity with a very nice comeback through that mid-game. Find their first win of Split 2 of the OPL.
Yeah, and they answered a lot of our question. Can they get to that late game part of the game? Will they be able to take it over and carry some smart team fighting throughout the mid-game, and well-deserved first win?
It was. I mean, definitely fought for it. You're showing absolute, showing a lot of signs of brilliance, but maybe coming into that, new team moving through, needs to sort of tighten that synergy up a bit. Looked much stronger here in this week. They'll be not happy, but I think confident in their performance after 2 weeks of the OPL. Honestly, if they just tighten a couple things up in the mid and late game sections, looking like a very formidable team here in the OPL.
Yeah, they look like a lot of teams coming into the OPL. Very strong mechanical players, able to get ahead in their lanes 1v1, but their shot calling just needs to be tweaked a little bit. They got beaten around the map a couple of times. Immunity took that outer ring a ton of turrets, and then just the in-team fight shot calling wasn't quite there.
Yeah, but a good win there for Immunity gives them the win finally in the first of this particular split. We'll go for a quick break, but when we return, please make sure you're here because we're about to have 2